Let's talk about the 3 phases of ancestral healing. It's important to note that not everybody is going to reach phase 3. Sometimes that's because we're not actually putting in the work, but sometimes it has more to do with the fact that we're not coming from a very good foundation. There's a lot more that we have to tear down before we can build up. And maybe the generations after us will reach it. And you can thank yourself for the work that you're doing now if they do. Phase 1, rose-colored glasses. This is a phase that, if you're not a cycle breaker, this is where you get stuck. If you're someone that is doomed to repeat the patterns, this is where you end up staying. But it is the phase where you're completely blind to your family's flaws. You think that your childhood was completely normal. You think that your parents are flawless. I had a pretty standard childhood. There's no trauma. Newsflash, nobody's perfect. Everyone has trauma. Everyone has work to do. So if you're in this phase of just being blind to that, you're doomed to repeat the cycle. Second phase is a complete separation phase. This is where your entire world is shattered because you realize, holy crap, I actually went through so much abuse, so much trauma. Nothing is what I thought it was. And because as humans we have a hard time separating our identity from our family or our experiences and our background, in order to cope with what happened to us, a lot of times we have to just completely cut off our family and separate. I disown you. I have nothing to do with you. I'm never going to be like my mom. I'm never going to be like my dad. Also, if you get stuck in this phase, you're doomed to repeat certain cycles as well. Not all of them. You're going to be able to break some of them, but there are certain ones that are so ingrained. If you are not accepting your shadow aspects, you're going to end up repeating them. But in this phase, you kind of forget about all the good. You only see the bad and there's a lot of self-sabotage of your relationships that happens in this phase too, because it's a protective mechanism. You're trying to stop the cycles from repeating, stop the abuse from repeating, not only for you, but also for your children. Most people get stuck in this phase. Phase 3 is where you learn to maintain strong boundaries even when you're around difficult people. You no longer have to create this safety bubble around you and your social circles because you know how to deal with problematic individuals. It's the phase where you've learned how to accept your part in the things that happened. You're able to accept your own shadow aspects as well and the parts of you that connect to the family that you came from. It's where you start remembering the good and you take the good with the bad. And yes, these bad things happened, but also these good things happened. It's a phase of self-forgiveness that expands out to forgive even those that hurt you. Now, forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean that you have to let these people back in. It really depends on how severe the toxicity was and whether or not there's a risk of them being repeat offenders. What phase